welcome to the channel. Today, right now, we're going to be doing the books that I've read recently. I had a huge wrap up in August because I read a ton of books in August. September, October didn't fare so well. I don't know what happened with September, but October I was on vacation and I've been having a hard reading year. Like, I've been having times where all I do is read and then I fall off and don't. But since my last wrap up that I did, I've read a total of only 5 books. This wrap up, this recent reads video is only gonna include 5 books that I read in September and October. I'm actually October didn't October for me this year as it normally does. And I'm wondering if that's because I was on vacation for like 10 days. Like, I wasn't home to enjoy it as much. I don't know. I didn't get to read any of the spooky books I wanted to, or any of the thriller stuff I wanted to read. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. It is like the middle of November still right now. And I haven't really picked up my reading a whole lot. My problem is I have so many books that I really desperately want to get to, and I don't know what to pick up next, that I end up not reading anything, which is a problem. I just need to pick up books and just work through them. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the books that I read recently, sort of recently, because I haven't read or finished a book in a long time. The first book I read was Shattered Reflections by S.K. Prince. I actually was approved for an e-arc of the second book, but I didn't realize that in order to get the e-arc, you had to read the first book and send a review for it. So I had to read the first book pretty quickly. I ended up giving it 4 stars. This is a new to me author, so their writing style I really had to kind of adjust to. But it wasn't bad. The plot was really interesting. There was just a lot going on and I was very confused a lot of the time. She's a detective who is tracking down this serial killer known as Snow White, and I believe he is a serial killer who is kind of getting pissed off that this other serial killer is hitting people before he can. And then he ends up finding out that the detective is searching for she's looking into all of these murders and stuff, so he kind of weasels his way in. And there's a lot of POV. There's her POV, there's his POV, I think there's a POV of her partner, and the POV of the Snow White killer. So there's a lot going on, and you kind of have to, and because they're all in different places a lot of the time, you kind of have to keep track of each individual plot line and what's going on. So there was a lot going on. It was a lot for me to pay attention to. I don't mind multiple POV. I'm used to having just 2 different POVs, but there was a lot. I would classify this as a thriller-y sort of thing. And there's a lot of trigger warnings. It's very dark, so just look at triggers before going into it. There is a twist at the end of this that I was worried it was going to be a typical thriller trope that I don't like. I feel like it's annoying and that it's a cop-out. It's not. It was actually something completely different and interesting. So I did give it 4 stars. And then I went on to the second book, Caged Reflections. Now this one, I almost DNF'd. I don't know if it was just that I read the first book, I understood, I got the plot. The end of the first book sets up for this second book, because you kind of meet the main character and what happens. It's one of the main characters, I think it's the sister of the hero in the first book, and then it's the partner from the female, her partner. It's their relationship, but there's also multiple POV going on, and a lot of them I'm I don't even know why this POV is in here. It doesn't make any sense to me. This one was a little bit more convoluted, I think, and a little bit confusing to follow. And I don't know if it was the plot, or I don't know. It might not have been the plot, because I think the plot was pretty she's looking something happens to her and she's kind of looking for revenge on this. And there's some family issues that go on, and it's there. I don't know if it's it might be the writing style, it might be how it was executed that I just kind of was really lost with. I actually don't even think I reviewed this. I didn't give it a star rating, only because it was I got it for review, and I didn't want to, if you have 3 stars or under, they don't want you to post a review until weeks later. So I didn't actually rate this yet, but I'm probably end up gonna give it like 2 stars maybe. I don't think this author is for me, and I'm finding out I'm in I think it's Dark and Disturbed's like group, and they share a lot of like recs and stuff. Like I really have to be very careful about just blindly going into things, because the few books that I've picked up from this group I have not been a huge fan of. So I think Ghost Stick was one of the ones that was like a pleasant surprise. I do have one book that I DNF'd, so technically there's like 6 I can talk about. One of the books I DNF'd was also a review book, and that is Cinder and Ash, A Dark Cinderella retelling by Emily Klepp. Now this sounds so good. Like the plot is there. It's kind of a twist on Cinderella. I DNF'd this. I could not get through it. I don't like to be overly negative with my reviews. I try not to be, but like the writing in this was just clunky, and the dialogue didn't flow nicely at all. Like it wasn't for me. Again, I got this as a review copy, and I didn't even rate it because I DNF'd it. So then after that, I picked up Truth or Dare by Dakota Wilde, because I was going to meet her at Authors in the Bluegrass, and I wanted to have something, because I did pick up a copy of Hell House, but I wanted to have something that I actually read. So I did read Truth or Dare. So I gave this one 4 stars. I had a lot of fun with this. It's a dark stalker romance, but there is excuse me, there is dual POV, and it also jumps from past to present, because the characters were at this like boarding school for like troubled youth growing up, and then something happens where one of their, I think her friend, dies, and like she witnesses the murder. She witnesses the murder, so like she's like in hiding for like most of her life, constantly running, because she's just trying to stay out of the way of the person that murdered her friend. That's like a horrible description of this book, but our hero is one of the people who she went to school with, who has been stalking her since the beginning. Like he had a thing for her when they were in high school, and he's been stalking her like ever since. Oh, she's also a cam girl, so he also, watches her on the camera, on her like OnlyFans or whatever site, and he is also on a revenge quest for family things happen with his family. And yeah, so it's a masked stalker. He ends up, because she's like an agoraphobe and like doesn't leave the house, so he ends up kind of pulling her out of the house, and they end up going and getting their like revenge together. So it was really fun. I had a lot of fun with this. It was definitely super spicy, and there was also a pet raccoon in this. It's actually a wild raccoon that I like keep as a pet, and his name is Croissant, which is so fun. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. So definitely gonna give more books by Dakota Wilde a go. This was my first one by her. And Hell House is the next series I definitely want to pick up. Okay, next book I read was Hitched by Lauren Beale. This is another author that I went to see at Authors in the Bluegrass. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It would have been 4 for like the first half of the book was like a 4 star for sure. It was so interesting, where I think he's an escaped convict, and he's hitching on the road, and then she ends up pulling over because it's raining so hard she has to pull over to, like, because she can't see, and he ends up like being right there, and she ends up giving him a ride, but he kind of like carjacks her and kidnaps her and forces her to drive like all of her God's creation. I forget where they were going specifically. But she is also in a very abusive relationship, and she is like panicking because if she doesn't go home, her husband is going to like flip out, and he's like, don't worry about him, like I'll take care of him. So like the first half of this is so good, and then there's a big like turning and a big like climactic event that's like a turning point of their story, which you would think would be the end of the book, just because like that's like, it just felt like it should have been the end of the story. But more keeps happening, and they like ended up killing a lot of people to like survive, because she ends up like just going on the run with him. And like that whole part of this, like that whole second half just felt repetitive and unnecessary. Like it just felt like we were just getting page counts in. Like I don't know, it was good, but I was kind of like, all right, like is there something else that was supposed, like it didn't feel like it was contributing anything to their romance or to the story, if that makes any sense. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars, but I do want to read the rest of what series is this? The Hitchhiker, I think it's Ride or Die series, I think is the name of it. But I do want to read the rest of this. I do have another, I think book 3 I also have on my shelf. And then we're going to end this on a high note, because I did finally pick up my first Elsie Silver. I did read Flawless. This is the, first book of the Chestnut Spring series. Everyone and their mother has been reading or has already read this series. It has become a cult classic series, I think. And I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I loved the bull rider aspect of it, the rodeo. I loved getting to learn, like to get to see that and actually like have scenes with Rhett actually riding bulls. I'm a big fan of when we get to see like them actually doing the thing that they say they do. Because I read a few books where like someone will say that they do that, like they do this as a job, but like you never actually get to see it. I mean, if it's a mundane job, like fine, but like I feel like if you're not gonna have a bull rider ride bulls, then like why? But this definitely delivers. The romance is so good. I feel like everyone kind of knows what this book is about already. We have Rhett Eaton, who is the bull rider of his family. He has sponsorships, and he ends up flubbing on camera, where he says, I think one of the sponsorships is milk, and he says he doesn't like milk, and then that kind of screws him over. And then our heroine is the daughter of his agent or publicist, who is tasked with pretty much babysitting him for the rest of his tour to make sure he doesn't fuck up anymore. And then they have a romance, and it's really cute. It's really fun. Excuse me. Because I'm someone who loves angst and drama. I would have liked there to be like something that kind of pulls them apart. There is like a moment where they do have like a third act split apart, where they're like, they go their separate ways. And there's an instance where he almost gets really hurt, and I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be the moment where the person realizes that they're going to lose the hero or the heroine, and like they need, like, I want that moment of like angst, and I want that, or some kind of like suspense element to it. Catherine Cowles has corrupted me and I read so many dark romance, but this was so fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved this. I cannot wait to read the rest of the series, and Gold Rush Ranch as well. Like, I know I'm so behind on this trend, but I'm going to catch up slowly but surely, and cannot wait to read more. But yeah, like, this one was definitely 4 stars, and we're ending. I needed to read something on a good, like, that I know I'm gonna love, because like the rest of these books, like, while most of them were real, like, they were okay in general, I have not been having a good reading the last couple of months. So I needed something that I knew I was gonna really like. I think I just need to go forward doing that, because at the moment I don't have to read anything for any more signing events. Not that I read anything for Indies Invade Philly, I just kind of like fell off the wagon with that. But I just think that's what I need to do. Just pick up more books that I know I'm going to really love, and kind of build back that enjoyment again. Hopefully the end of the year we'll see a little bit better reading. I don't know, I don't want to say more reading, although I do need to read more, but hopefully I'll have some better books to talk about, because there are quite a few I want to get through by the end of the year, so hopefully I'll be able to do that. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.